All right, welcome back into another episode of Indiebnb. Today we are joined by Jordan Burchell out of Gainesville, Florida. He is an indie rocker out of there. Jordan, how are we doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, doing good. Excited to be speaking with you. I think you came to us through the great Spencer Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think that's how we got linked up, and he is great. We just did some shows together, and he's the best.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Well, you got some new stuff out. We'd love to we'll dive into a few different tracks, but you want to kind of get into the background here. I mean, you're kind of out of the mud in Gainesville, Florida, like college town. Are you wrestling
Yeah.
Gators? Like, talk to me about the North Central Florida area.
Oh, we're here wrestling Gators. We're running, airboat tours and what have you. No, I'm from Tampa originally, Tampa, Florida. So I'm like a real born and raised Florida person, but I don't necessarily identify as a Florida man, though I am that. This is a tangent, but my wife and I went on our honeymoon in Italy, and we went to this very fancy restaurant, and they were like, "Where are you from?" And we were like, "Florida," and they were like, "You're a Florida man?" And they brought like the entire staff, and they were like, "It's Florida man," and I was like, "That I am. That is what I am." But yeah, I came to Gainesville for school, and just kind of got you know rooted here and met my wife, and just kind of stayed. And Gainesville is a place where you can like really get started in music. It's a very like open and inviting place, and I like that about it. And over the years, it's had a huge punk scene in the '90s, and then obviously the way back stuff of Tom Petty and stuff like that. But it's kind of always had a it's always punched above its weight as a music town, I think.
Yeah. Well, take me through it. I mean, like, what are some spots? Like, what are some places that you kind of, as you were, kind of getting your bearings, and as you've, grown in and rooted into that place, like, what are some places that have been influential for you?
For sure, the Bull, not the Bowl, but the Bull, Bull. I always have to be careful with my accent. Which is a little bar in Gainesville. It's very near and dear to my heart. It's the first place I ever played in front of people, and I still play there all the time. Spencer played there. That's where I played with Spencer when he came through
Oh,
came
very
through
cool.
town. Heartwood Soundstage is started and run by some buds. Um, One of the first things I ever did musically in Gainesville was at a place called Medusa Sound, which was Dave Malash's home basement studio, and he later started Heartwood with some business partners, and so that's kind of like where, if you're a bigger band now, it's where you play when you come through town. My wife and I got married there, so like we're very
Oh,
connected to that place. The Atlantic in Gainesville is kind of like a storied place, even though it's moved from where it used to be. That was always my favorite room to play in when it was still in the original spot. Um, like it used to be High Dive, which was Common Grounds before that, which is kind of a legendary venue that's closed recently. And things are very much kind of like in flux. I feel like these days, a huge part of the scene is honestly house shows and kind of
yeah,
like house, almost like semi-pro house shows, like houses that like host a lot of shows and do it kind of like that. Um, I feel like that's partially because of the economics of venues, especially in a small town where like it's kind of hard to keep it going. And so there's still a lot of music getting played and happening, but I think a lot of it is happening now in like spaces that are people's houses and other improvised spaces and stuff like that, which is cool. But it's definitely a shift. How Bizarre is one that I have to mention, which is kind of more hip hop centric, but they do some indie stuff, and I've played there a couple times and love the people behind that place and a bunch of others that I'm sure the Woolly, sure
yeah.
I'm missing, but we've got some stuff down here. We got some
Yeah,
friends.
I mean, that's like a lot. That's way more than I thought there'd be. I kind of think that I don't know why I like in Gainesville to make it where I went to college, but like I think that based on what you just told me, it seems like there's a lot more stuff going on there, and
I think, yeah, Gainesville's kind of like, I think does more music like per capita than like other towns probably, like given the size of it, and
Mhm.
there's more of a permanent population now. It is a college town, so it's always like influx.
Sure.
It's, you know, an important thing about it, but there's just a lot more bands I think than probably like certainly where I'm from in Tampa, which is like a much bigger city, but had like, you know, 5% of the bands that Gainesville has.
Yeah, I think there's something to be like those cities like Miami, Tampa, Orlando, like you get probably like it feels like a the punk and like kind of those a little bit more like gothicy
Mm-hmm.
bands maybe like coming from Fort Lauderdale and like all those places,
Mm-hmm.
but like I don't see it as like a scene where there's like a like hey there's 200 venues or like you're getting a lot of
Mm-hmm.
folks super interesting. But you're super interesting. I appreciate you giving me that feed the kind of that little bit of a
Yeah, of
background like
course.
for your story like you know it starts the bull, and where you got
Mm-hmm.
started. Like, what, you know, did you always want to be solo? Did you want to be, in a band? Like, what was when you were, kind of starting the thing out? Like, what was the vision for it, and has it shifted?
Um, well, when I first started out, I wanted to be like a death metal guitar player. That was like where
Yeah.
I
Okay.
started. Like, you know, shredding. That was what I really thought was going to be my life, and then kind of slowly, probably because I realized I wasn't ever going to be good enough to like do that. Started like writing songs, and I think that's where probably around the time that like my parents were like, maybe you want an acoustic guitar, and I was like, absolutely not, and they just kind of like handed me one, and I started kind of writing on that, and then it was just years and years and years of just like recording my stuff in my room and showing it to nobody, like literal like 6 7 years of that. All through college I was just recording all the time, and not releasing it or playing it anywhere, just kind of like filling up my hard drive with stuff. And so I feel like where I started with it was really the recording side of things, because there weren't a ton of people doing music, and writing it and wanting to record it in my hometown where I'm from, Spring Hill, which is kind of close to Tampa. And so I just kind of got into like, I saved up, got some recording gear, and just kind of got into like doing my recording thing on my own. And so like really went all the way through college without ever playing a show. Graduated. My friend tricked me into coming to an open mic at the Bull, which I didn't know was an open mic, and then just put my name on the list. And they called me up, and so I played some stuff that I could think to play. Was very terrified at that, but like, yeah, that night was crazy because it was hosted at the time by a dude named Ricky Kendall, who's like a Gainesville legend, of a musician, and who's now like a dear friend. He's very close friends, was very close friends with my wife, and then that's through him I kind of met my wife, and so like that was a very consequential open mic, certainly for me and our
Wow.
friend group. But yeah, and then like after that, like I never really had a goal, um, a, a specific goal. Like I kind of just stumbled into having a band. Like other people that I met kind of through the bowl and that scene were like, you should have a band, and just kind of like just made me have a band. A dude named Jason Hedges, who was like the first guitar player in my band, just kind of like marshaled a bunch of people together, and it was just like, here, now you have a band. And we started playing shows, and then like people started joining the band, and leave town, and we get new people that would kind of come through the band. And just sort of always playing a lot, in town, and just kind of like I put out my first record in 2016, and that was the last time I put out a full record. Next year will be the first time since then. So it's been a decade since I put out a full record. Um, but just kind of like, I don't know, being really serious about music, but not really like taking the not really like going for it until pretty recently, to be honest. Which I have. I was playing tons of shows. I've always played tons of shows. I've always recorded a ton. But in terms of like putting it out and touring and really saying like, yeah, this is what I'm doing, that's a pretty recent phenomenon for me. So I have some regret about that, but it's kind of like, yeah, this is where I am. And so just kind of like seeing what I can do with what I've got. Um, but all through all of that, Gainesville has been a very like Gainesville's kind of down for whatever you're trying to do. Like if you have a very weird experimental thing, there are places in town that are like, yeah, absolutely, come and do this. Like we'll lose money on that show, absolutely, like no problem. Whereas like every town is not necessarily like that, or at least in my experience, it's not necessarily
Yeah.
like that.
Wow. I mean, I think like I want to go back to something you said, like going for it, right? Like, and
Hmm.
you kind of think like that's a new development. So like, what does that mean to you? I guess like give us more detail into like what does going for it mean?
It really is about. I think it's kind of probably, if I'm honest, a more internal thing.
Hmm.
Like just admitting to myself that like this is this is plan A, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and I think in the past I shied away from like releasing music sometimes, or like really saying that this is what I'm trying to do, because then if it doesn't work out the exact way that you want it to, you kind of have this safety net of like, ah, well,
Yeah.
it's like it's my
Yeah.
hobby or it's whatever. So it's not, the stakes are pretty low. And I think for me, going for it probably means like just raising the stakes way up. Like I'm going to drive to a different city, and we kind of have to make money to make it make sense. I have a kid now. I have a 2-year old, so like it's not super viable for me to drive to Atlanta, for example, which we'll talk about, and like have it not be worth it. And so just
Yeah.
like professionalizing all of that. So it's like, okay, like if we're going to do that, what do we have to do 2-3 months in advance to like make sure that we do everything we can to make it a good show? Like taking networking way more seriously, taking booking way more seriously. I have a booking agent now. And just professionalizing the entire thing, and really, instead of like viewing the business side of it as this like chore that I shouldn't really have to do as an artist, view that as like also part of my job as an artist.
Hmm.
Um, that's the only way that, like, with all the responsibilities that my wife's a musician as well, that we have, now in our life, of making it make sense, making it viable. But hopefully that makes sense. I think
Yeah.
people probably don't like perceive like, oh, now he's going for it. People that have been kind of following along for all this time. But like, I think for me in my head, I kind of flipped the switch where I'm like, no, like I'm taking this really seriously. If I fail, I will be super bummed. Like there's high
Hmm.
stakes, and like this is what we're doing, kind of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully that makes sense.
No, it certainly does. I think like, the professionalization of it, like,
Yeah.
you kind of, I just talked to somebody who's, she's in college, and it's, her balance, like the kind of hard part for her is balancing,
Hmm.
the college load and being able to, do music. Well, like now it's like, hey, like you're trying to, this is plan A, like you said. I think that's such
Hmm.
a, to define that and then be like, okay, like now, like when we go to Eddie's on September 8th, what are the things that we need to happen in order for that to
Hmm.
be, something that like is going to be, worthy of the drive, for, 6, 7 hours. Right.
Yeah, and the
Like,
investment. Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about Eddie's. I mean, like you went there and, you played in the listening room. Like, it's a legendary venue here in Atlanta. We love,
Yeah.
I've been to a ton of shows there, and like, take me through it, man. Like what, how'd that show come about? What were the things you remember about it? What stuck out to you?
So the show came about because Sterling, who's like my buddy and booking agent, um, which we should definitely talk about how I met Sterling, because that's like I did a 365 songwriting thing that we should definitely talk about. But he and I kind of met through like weird, small town circumstances, and then he was like, I should be your booking agent, and I was like, okay. Very similar to like the band thing, where it's just like kind of like he fell out of the sky and was like, I should be your booking agent, and I was like, sure, let's do that. So I think he had a relationship with Spencer, and then I think he now represents Spencer as well. But they
Mm,
kind of like put that little tour together, which I was like super stoked to hop on. And obviously, I've been aware of Eddie's for a long time, just from like live albums that have been recorded there, and just like people that have played there over the years that I follow. And so was very, very excited to drive up and play there. I know I just talked a big game about like the whole like we got to make it worth it, but I would have driven up to play at Eddie's for, at a loss for sure. Um, but yeah, it was super cool. I mean, it's definitely felt like a threshold thing of like it was like probably the as a solo act like the coolest room I've played. Um, and to just be in that room and kind of participate in the story of that place was very cool. And I had a great set. It was really fun. And opening up for Spencer was awesome. And I'm struggling because I'm blanking on her name, but the opener was fantastic as well. And she brought her entire family. I'm actually going to do a thing where I look at my phone because I want to shout her out. Um, of course, Mary Margaret Cozart, um, who, if you're in Atlanta, I think she's Atlanta based, is awesome. So it was a super awesome night, and yeah, Sterling and I were kind of like, for both, he came with me, and for both of us, I think it was kind of like, oh, like we're, this is pretty legit.
Yeah.
Like him on the booking side, and then me as like, getting more serious with touring. It's like, okay, this is like a step that we've taken now. Where so kind of like, the micro of like actually playing the show and having it be good, and getting to chill with Spencer and his partner in Atlanta. Went to dinner with them, and like so kind of just getting to like meet some of those people and enjoy the city. And then also like zooming out from like a, we're doing music professionally perspective, just kind of being like, that's kind of like a check box that like me 5 years ago would be like really excited about. And one of the things with all of this that we've been talking about that I've been focused on is like allowing myself to kind of like savor those things. It's very, very much my
Absolutely.
personality to like kind of wave those things off, where it's like, no, I haven't accomplished anything, like, because it's just on to the next thing. So I'm trying to really focus on like, no, that was a very cool thing to have been able to do. Very fortunate to be able to do that, and kind of like make sure that I take a second and appreciate that before just like, you know, getting Taco Bell and driving back to Gainesville.
Well, I love that, man. I mean, it's always good to hear from the artist perspective, and the rooms that you go to all the time. Like being able to hear from somebody, it's like I feel like that's a lot of historical significance, a lot of
Oh
to
yeah.
kind of be a part of that tapestry is awesome. So I'm glad that
Oh yeah.
we got the booking agent, got it cranked
We're
up
doing
and
it.
we're
We're
ready to
doing it,
go,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Like what? So let's dive in there. You mentioned it, like, hey, we got to figure out why. How'd you meet this? Spencer Sterling gentleman. Like what?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
where did this come from? Like give me that story.
So really like it's kind of part and parcel with the whole like taking music seriously thing. So beginning of 2023, I quit my day job. Um, and quit slash like yeah quit, maybe had to leave anyway because the company was changing, but kind of quit and was like, I'm just going to do music full time for a while and see what that's like. And pretty soon into that experiment, we had just found out that my wife Sam was pregnant with our daughter Sydney, and then I quit my job, which raised a lot of eyebrows. People were like, what? um, but my thought process was, um, it's like it's not going to get easier to make a run at this as our kid gets older, as we like accumulate responsibilities. And also like I was thinking a lot at that time about, what kind of person do I want to be as an example? Like, do I want to be a person that kind of like always had this desire to like at least do it full time for a period of time and see what happens? Or do I want to just like, I want to be a person that just like talks about it forever and never actually does it as an example. So that was like kind of the things that were in my head. So I did that, and then like kind of a couple months into that, I made this post where I said I wrote a song and I posted it, and I said that it was like one of 365. And so like I didn't really even think too hard about it, but I started this like thing of writing and posting a song every day for a year, which is they're all on Instagram. And through that is really how I like met Sterling, and then made like a bunch of connections that led to the record that I just finished, and kind of like all of this touring and stuff. Um, it, uh, 2/3 of the way through that experiment, our daughter was born. I recorded and posted songs in the hospital while we were there during uh, her birthing process. My wife and I did it together, which is a
Wow,
crazy testament to her
that's
dedication, obviously.
oh my
Um,
god.
our midwives were watching the videos, you know, like in the room with us, and it was like this crazy thing. And then like in the first couple weeks of parenthood, as people have had kids know, it's like an insane experience. So we were like doing all that, and then in the middle of the night, I was like writing and recording and posting these songs and stuff. So like that's when I met Sterling. I think he came in around like song 150, and he like messaged me and was like interested in. I produced bands and stuff as well, and he was interested in that. We met up and kind of like hit it off right away, and worked out this trade where he would help me book and stuff, and I would help him produce his EP, and then kind of just like became best buds and just work on all things music together now. Um, but yeah, that led to that, and then more than anything for me, like having the daily practice of it is really where I kind of convinced myself that I was like good enough to like try, you know, to like be taken seriously. It's just like the act of showing up every day and writing and doing it. It's like every day is a little vote that like I am in fact a serious songwriter and musician. And like over time, those votes stacked up enough where I was able to kind of like overcome my own internal negative bias against what I was doing, by kind of brute force, which ended up being a really cool, unintentional but happy accident about the whole thing. It was incredibly exhausting. Also, I still haven't like fully mentally recovered from the insanity of it, but it was super cool.
So, I mean, all right. So, a lot of questions there.
Yeah, yeah.
365 songs. I mean,
Hmm.
are they all 4 minutes? Are they all 2 minutes? Like, what are the, what were the parameters that you gave yourself for that? And like, on Halloween was the song about Halloween. On Christmas was the
The
song about Christmas. Like,
the song on Halloween, I was dressed up as Prue Leith from Great British Bake Off, and it was about Halloween. Um, I don't know. I think Christmas was a Christmas song. On my birthday, I like wrote a new birthday song. Not all of them are 4 minutes. I think the bare minimum was 90 seconds because that was like the max reels posting time. Most of them are like 2.5 to 3.5 minutes, and I just posted part of it. Um, but yeah, like I mean, there's ones about soup, which people request at shows all the time, and I'm like, I don't know the soup song. People, you know, there's one that's about the store Batteries Plus. I don't know if you all have those in Atlanta, but
I
I
feel like
wrote,
is that a car battery place?
yeah, they have all kinds of batteries, which I now know because Batteries Plus Corporate reached out to me after the video went up. Um, I wrote a jingle for them, uh,
Let's
and
go.
I redid the jingle for Outback Steakhouse, and they sent me a care package, which was definitely a high point of it's like bloomin' onion socks and like a backpack and like a gift card and stuff. So that was very cool. Um, a lot of like weird. I like got a request to write a song about Oregon from like this paleontologist. I think she was. It was like for her husband. So I like one of them is about Oregon, which Fred Armisen shared because he saw it because it was about I mentioned Portland in it and someone tagged him. It's like all these like weird like just like every day I felt like I was wading into like another corner of the internet kind of thing. And most of them like, you know, didn't get like that many comments or whatever, but some of them had some legs. And so that like I did one about AI, like people asking me if I'm still gonna write songs even though AI can write songs. And that one is kind of like stands out. It's like a ton. I mean, like I wrote one about Pop Tarts. That one sticks out in my head. I wrote one about Banjo Kazooie, the N64 game,
Sure.
and like crying because I couldn't beat it, and my dad buying me a game guide and like feeling ashamed because I couldn't beat it without a game guide. Um, all kinds of shit, and some of them are like real serious. Like it's not all you know, bullshit songs, but it was a trip. I scrolled through them for the first time in a long time recently, and I was like, this was nuts. Um,
I mean, I think that like I love your thought process on like, hey man, like if I go and show up to the office every day, it's a vote of confidence that I know I can do this as
yeah,
a real piece, right? And I'm sure that the songs probably all took varying levels of time and
mm,
energy, but like
for sure,
ultimately, like you're flexing a muscle. To me, it's like you were just going to the music gym every day and just getting
100%.
some reps in, and like you used to just stack days, and now I'm sure that those like 365 probably helped you write the
Oh
things
yeah.
that were, on the album, or, any of the, any of the things that you've done now. So, man, we've gone through like 25 minutes here, and I'm like, shit, we haven't even talked about any of the songs he's written. Like,
I'm sorry.
we're
I'm
going, no,
sorry.
it's all right. No, it's good. I love it, man. That means, we got something rolling here. Well, I want to talk about Duck Yourself. I mean, like,
Yeah.
is that a part of the 365? Was that a separate separate little
No,
nugget there? Like, what's the
that's a
story behind
way
that one?
older that's a way older song. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Of course, of course.
So that song started its life. This is absolutely true. The song was called "Fuck Yourself," and I was texting it to demos back and forth to my buddy Zach, who was my drummer at the time in our band, and it kept auto correcting it to "Duck Yourself," like your
Of
iPhone
course,
is
as it
you
always
know
does.
as it always does. And so like I thought it was interesting because it's kind of like the song is kind of about like avoiding or like negating parts of yourself that like don't align with your self image, because at the time I was very like having all these like extended internal conversations about like, am I like a guy that has a day job and I do like business stuff, or am I like an artist? And so like the song was very much about like attempting to reconcile those two things. And so I was like, oh, like Duck Yourself's kind of interesting because it's kind of like there's all these moments throughout my daily life where I'm kind of like avoiding parts of my personality, and not really like confronting the whole person because it's not convenient to, or because it doesn't align with who I think I'm supposed to be or whatever. Um, and then it really came into focus. I was like, I should put a duck on the album cover. So like it's just like layers of abstraction where like I should then make it about like a duck somehow. And the album art is actually by Father John Misty's sister. Um, it's Josh Tillman, Kelsey Tillman did that, which is a great illustration of a duck. Um, have to shout her out. And then that song got shared by a person from 90 Day Fiance, which is why it for a long time was my most streamed thing, and gave it some legs, which is very cool. But yeah, that's kind of the story of that song. I kind of remotely worked on it with a producer that I work with a lot up in Nashville named Andrew Goldring. He kind of like saved it in a way. Like the majority of the recordings are me. The drums are a guy named Dan Bailey out in LA. And then Andrew added like a second guitar and a lead guitar in the bridge, and like the mix he did. I was like ready to just like throw the song away, which is like very much part of my process where I get to a certain point and I'm like, no, put it in the Google Drive, forget
Fuck
about
it.
it. Yeah, fuck it, exactly. Duck it. And he was like, no, and like he did a mix of it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is yeah. And so I kind of like put it out, and I think it probably, if I look back, was like the first song I put out in a while, and it kind of like started putting out singles after that, tiptoeing back into it. So yeah, I mean, it's about ducking and it's about ducks and it's about all kinds of stuff.
I mean, like the more that like so many different puns and different things you got in there. I mean, like
Yeah,
that's amazing. Well,
yeah,
that's it. You always like, again, you only listen to it in one way, right? Whenever you first
hmm
hear it, right? Like, and some people are like, hey, like that's the purest form of the music, Grant, like the way you perceive it. And I'm like, well, I kind of like to hear the backstory and what and
yeah,
what's
yeah,
going on now. Now I get to enjoy it a different way, and being able to do that. So, well,
totally.
cool. I wanna, we'll move off a Duck Yourself. Want to hear about any kind of live dates, anything coming up in the future? You mentioned 2026, big album time coming up.
Big city album. Let's look at my little tour thing here, because I am going to Des Moines, Iowa, on the
And this
19th
will
of
be out
November.
October 29th, so 19th of November, Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, 20th of November, Kansas City, and the 22nd of November, Omaha. I'm doing a little three-show run with a band that's kind of from there, Neva de Nova.
I
And
thought you were about to say
so,
Slipknot. I was about to be like, man, that's gonna be a sick tour,
yeah,
dude.
solo acoustic opening for Slipknot. That would, if you see this, call me.
Corey
I'm
Taylor.
I'm I'm down. Yeah, I'm very down. And then I'm doing in the beginning of January. I'm super excited about these shows with a guy called Noah Guthrie. Um, we're going to be back in Atlanta and Forsyth. You know where that is in Georgia?
Forsyth, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
a
And then
little bit south
Orlando,
of us.
St. Augustine, and a place called Spinster Abbots, which is a great venue. If people watching this ever make it to St. Augustine, you got to go to Spinster Abbots. We Spencer and I played there together and had a slip of the tongue, so we started calling it Spencer Abbots, and it was super fun. And yeah, that's what I got so far. We're putting some West Coast stuff together for later in the year, next year, but none of that is like solidified. And then the album is probably going to be out in like the first single comes out November 14th, which is an important date for me to share. I'm glad I didn't forget. Um, and then the whole album will probably come out in like late March, early April, unless something happens. And we'll do a few more singles before that. But yeah, that's kind of the next 6 month like idea of what we're going to do. And
I
we'll see how
love
it
it.
goes.
Love it. He's hitting the Midwest. He's hitting the South again early in the year. I mean, we got
All the
some
top
we got some
spots.
good date stuff coming up here.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
put in, obviously, follow him on Instagram, follow him on the old Spotify. It will tell you when they are, when people are coming to your area now, which is nice. So,
that was awesome.
um,
Yeah,
you know, we're releasing this October 29th. So those folks in Des Moines, if we got some listeners there, get
Des
ready to
Moines,
rip it. Des
get
Moines.
we're gonna entertain you so much.
All right. We love it.
Get
We love
there.
it, man. Well, let's ride into as we do, we'll go to the Midwest part of this segment, kind of the meat and potatoes, of our interview
Nice.
here. The Pete Peterson party pack of questions. Truly going to get to know you on a food level.
Okay.
So we want to make sure we get that, a little bit from us here. So Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Jordan, Burchell, cake or pie? What are you going with?
Cake, easy.
Caking it up. Okay, salad or soup?
Salad.
All right, let's go. Sunrise or sunset? What are you seeing more of these days?
Well, both, but sunrise.
Sunrise. All right. Young daughter. Know that. I feel like
Hmm.
that's probably the reason.
Yeah.
Would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
Touchdown.
Teeter. Okay. Night in or night out? What are you having more of?
Night in for sure.
Love that. All
I
right.
love a night out when we can get it.
When you do go out and your jam comes on, you're more likely to hit the robot or the worm on the dance floor?
Probably the robot. Have to
Okay.
protect my low back.
Got to protect the low back. Got to make sure we don't. We're up there. We're picking a guitar. We got to make sure we got to be able to do it later.
Yes. Load management.
Love it. Love it. All right. Guac or queso at your favorite Tex-Mex spot?
I mean, it's always both, but if I have to pick, it's guacamole.
It's guacamole. All right. No load management on his guacamole. Let's go. All right. Waffles or pancakes? What are we going with there?
It's a waffle. It's going to be a waffle for me.
Awesome. All right. Coffee or tea with your waffle?
Coffee, easy. No
Okay.
coffee.
Dogs or cats?
I'm a cat guy. I'm not proud of it necessarily, but I am a cat guy.
All right. Meow. Let's do this thing. Okay. Ninja or a pirate? What do you identify more with?
Pirate.
Okay. It's a pirate's life for him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Chips or pretzels?
Chips.
Chipping around. Okay. Fries or tots?
Fries.
All right. After a long day, more like to rip a TV show or a movie?
These days, movie.
Movie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are aliens real?
Almost certainly.
All right. Is Bigfoot real?
No.
Bigfoot, not real. Okay. Love at first sight. Is that real?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. And final question, Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Give me two bands that we ought to know, that we don't know about, that we ought to check out.
Oh, jeez. I wish I was prepped for this.
Who's the band you guys are opening for in Des Moines again?
Neva Genova.
Never de
So for
Nova.
sure them, Neva space Dinova. And then, I'm going to say the Nancys in Gainesville. The
The
Nancys are,
Nancys.
yeah, an indie rock band that is like doing big things right now. I recorded and produced and mixed their first single, which is not why I recommend listening to them. They are incredible on their own right, but I'm going to say the Nancys.
Hey, I hear the mix on that album, and that single is unbelievable, though. That's what I'm hearing.
Many people are saying that it is one of the better mixes they've heard yet.
I love it. I love it. We got Neva de Nova and the Nancys. This is Jordan Burchell. He's destroyed the Pete Peterson party pack of questions. Um,
Annihilated.
Annihilated. It's done. Last
Own it.
thing, would love to hear your last search on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you stream on.
Let's look at Spotify. The thing is, it's almost certainly Raffi, which is a child's entertainer. But let's
Oh,
see, because it's what my daughter is obsessed with. But let's see. It was actually a band called Big Sky because we did a show with them and I was
all
listening to
right.
their music. Old Gainesville band.
Old Gainesville van, Big Sky. Let's go. Mine was Foxtide, a band that opened up for RC Drive recently here in Atlanta on October 4th. A very memorable show if you were there. So,
Awesome.
and I'll leave it at that.
Love it.
Well, Jordan, I appreciate you taking the time, man, to come hop on the pod here. You conquered the whole entire gamut. When you come back, if the stars align, let us know where you guys are playing, what's going on, and hopefully we'll be in the front row there cheering you on.
Amazing. Thank you, man.
Yeah, of course.